What's up? What's up? Hello and welcome to Michael Pepper Tech Talk, Tuesday's Tech Talk. And let's see what's going on here. I hope that some people will hop in here and we'll have a good conversation tonight. One thing I wanted to kind of cover was I had having a pretty bad experience with AT&T lately and some issues with um basically, when I got my Note 10 Plus, they had a deal where you got a $300 gift card with it, and their system had issues, so the reward center wouldn't let them do it. So the reward center sent me to um, customer care, and then customer care sent me back to reward center and back and forth. Now I'm on Twitter chat with them, and basically they're full of crap, and we will be getting away from them as soon as possible and things like that. So, hey, what's up, Apple Monster? You don't happen to be free tonight, do you? Where you could hop on for a little bit? Ooh, I look dark. I guess that doesn't look that bad. I got a new setup and um in a new spot, and I hope that it looks okay. I gotta turn on a light here and see if that helps. That's better. That's much better. Um, Not necessarily better camera, but better positioning. Before, I was actually shooting from either my bed or in the closet, and the light kind of bounces around and the sound isn't the greatest. And so now I'm more into the room, but I got blankets behind me to help with some of the bouncing, some of the sound, and I got more desk space. I got a dual setup here. I can actually take a picture and I'll show you what's going on real quick. You can see that I got my MacBook Air there. Let me turn the brightness down on that. There we go. MacBook Air, monitor, microphone. Yeah, it probably looks way clearer because I'm right above the router instead of off into the side of it, and I got more space so it's not bouncing around so much. Anyways, just had been dealing with some crap with AT&T, and um, I've been surprisingly excuse me, surprisingly pleased with T-Mobile and their service and their customer service. It took a while to get um to get set up, but that was because their system was having issues, and so I was in there for a few hours, but to get two new phones and to get everything transferred over and all the paperwork wasn't too bad. Um, but I've been dealing with AT&T for a couple weeks now trying to get this resolved, and it's been, I don't know. Now I've been probably about 2 work days worth of time that I've put into it. I'm about to write them up a bill and send it off to them and see how they take that, but, um, that's just kinda something I wanted to talk about a little bit here and talk about customer service and how, um, it looks really bad on a company when that happens when, they say, "Hey, you buy a device and this is the deal you get." And let me move this out of the way. That's better. And then wow, something's messed up there. Okay, that's much better. And then they don't give you that deal and they try to make it a workaround. In my opinion, I shouldn't have to go take all the time to um, dink around and get the gift card. It should just be automatic. I get that it takes a month because you could buy a device and then you could return it, but most of them only have a 14-day return policy. So within on that 15th day, they should be able to process it and send it out. And it's just kind of some bullshit that I have to deal with that. Apple Monster. Hey, Apple Monster, I saw you had Nikias Molina on the other day. That was awesome. I actually um just added him on Twitter and might reach out to him and see if he wants to be part of the um kind of collaboration new series that I'm working on and see um I know different time zone, but yeah, I had that issue with Verizon too where our bill skyrocketed. Like I'm talking about went from around $150 and then we added Apple Watches, so that put it close to around $200 to around $500. So that's why we left them and went to AT&T, but then AT&T was good and our bill was again around that $200 mark with 2 iPhones and 2 Apple Watches, but then now these companies add all these extra bills. They add um, all these fees for, accessing this and that. They up your line access fees. So when we first started, it was like 10 for the watches and phones and stuff were 20. Now, and that was including on unlimited. Now, no matter which plan you basically it's $30 if you're on the 3 gig and 9 gig a month plan. And if you're on any of the unlimited in quotes unlimited plans, it's $40 a month for the line access fees and or $35 a month for line access fees. Well, we had 7 phones on our um, plan at one point, so that's an extra $105 a month. I could have gotten a Samsung Galaxy Fold and like another iPhone 11 Pro Max for that amount. So that's crazy. It would be awesome to have him on here. Um, I just have to figure out when he would be available because different time zones and stuff. I don't know if you know anything about that or if I should just reach out via Twitter or if there's another way that's better to get a hold of him. But um, so for me, that's why it's important that good customer service is there, and that's why um, when it comes to I mean, I've never dealt with Samsung's customer service, but I've dealt with Apple's, and they always take care of me. I had one time I dropped a phone in the toilet. I told them that, and they checked it out, and because the dots on the inside of the phone didn't turn, they ended up just handing me a brand new phone. Like, I had that phone for, uh, almost a year. It was just before AppleCare, the original AppleCare was gonna die off. And that was back before they had AppleCare Plus, and technically things like that weren't supposed to be covered, and they covered it. My aunt and uncle are missionaries in Africa. They had, uh, laptops that they brought in and Apple just, like, replaced stuff for free. Now they charge you for everything, you go in, a cracked glass on my iPhone 10, and, that's about $300 after taxes, and, they don't even replace just the glass, they replace the whole thing, so I'll definitely DM you later, and we'll figure it out, but, um, so I think that's part of what people forget about is so Apple has all their Apple stores and their locations and the costs of that, and they deal with Best Buy and, um, training people for repairs and things like that is a huge cost, and for me, that adds value. So if a company's experience can add value, I'm willing to pay, 5, $10 more a month for a device if I know or, a few $100 if you're doing it upfront, if I know that if I have an issue, I'm gonna be able to just contact them and they'll fix it, so but when a company doesn't stick behind their product and doesn't stick behind their brand and doesn't stick behind their name, that kinda causes some issues, so that's what I was dealing with today. Another thing that I kinda wanted to talk about here a minute is, um, get is how, um, companies are starting to add more and more stuff to their devices and not really anything that necessarily adds value. So, it gets to a point where adding more RAM isn't even necessary because it's not like you're using it. I mean, my Note 10 Plus has 12 gigs of RAM, excuse me, and even with Dex running, I'm lucky if I use 8 gigs of it. I've done video exports, photo editing, all sorts of things, games, and to use half of that would be pretty crazy, and now they're talking about 15, 16 gigs of RAM. Most people 64 gigs of storage is actually more than enough. There are a lot of people that won't even break that. My mom and my dad both got, like, 256 gig iPhones. My dad had the iPhone 8 and my mom has the 8 Plus, and they haven't upgraded yet because they don't see the need. And that's the problem with these companies is they don't give any reason to upgrade. Yeah, the cameras got better, and that's why I upgraded, partially because they had the buy one get one deal where basically you got $700 in credit towards the second phone plus a $300 gift card, so it's like $1,000 off. So to get 2 phones for basically the price of 1, I'm not gonna beat a deal like that, and then if I had to shell out $300 on an iPhone that I'm not gonna even be able to sell for $600, it wasn't worth it, so, um, that's where I feel like companies that do things like Samsung and Google do, where they are starting to offer better value at the low end, and the mid-range devices like the A50, A51, the A70, A71, those devices are worth it. And they may not get 2, 3 years of Android versions and they may not get, you know, as frequent security updates, but the name is still behind the company. If you have an issue, if they're gonna replace displays, they'll replace it. And because they're a bigger company, and they sell a ton of them, if you break the screen, chances are you'll be able to get a replacement. Where smaller companies like some of these like Umidigi and Ulafone and some of these, if something happens, you're just gonna buy a new device because it's gonna cost the same. to try to get it repaired, or there won't even be a display option for it. So, that's where it's important that companies represent themselves well and stick behind and offer good customer service and offer good quality control and things like that. And it'll be interesting to see this year because from what I can tell, it looks like OnePlus um, is going to be offering some pretty sweet devices as well. And I'm hoping that the OnePlus 8 Lite leaks are true and that it's mainly going to be same high-end specs, same high-end processor. I'm talking about how specs aren't important, but then I'm talking about specs in this. But that basically OnePlus will be pushing devices that the main difference is storage and RAM and maybe single versus double or triple cameras and things like that, and maybe not having 120 hertz on the low end, but to be able to get everything else to basically be the same is very important, and I think there's value in that. My only concern is I had a OnePlus 6T that I wish I hadn't gotten rid of, since now I've gone back to T-Mobile and it would have worked. But the the updates that they promised for 3, 4 months weren't there and things like that. So if say you're gonna come out with something, you should come out with, and every company has done that. Apple did that. They had their Air Power and then they didn't release it. But they didn't release it, that hardware, because it wasn't up to their standard. Again, talking about quality control, and um there's issues with concerns of um, fires and things like that because they couldn't get the heat down, and they didn't want it to affect value. I mean, there were people complaining about some of the MacBooks because they would thermal throttle, so that just doesn't look good. What else? Oh, also this huge discussion lately of 5G and um, whether or not Verizon's going to offer it in rural areas or not is kind of a moot point because um 4G, like, I don't live out in the middle of nowhere. I'm within about 7 miles of an expressway one way, and I'm not too far from some of the towers, but within like less than 10 miles. But to even get LTE signal here is crazy. And I can go somewhere that's actually even further away from the expressways and get better signal. I mean, I was over about 20 miles from here, and they're close to some of the expressways, but they had way better signal, um, with the same number of bars. So until these companies can fix that, and I'm hoping that 5G will fix that. But my concern is that with IoT and in-home 5G, that these companies will be overly stressed, and that um, it won't be able to live up to the name, and that 4G will actually be better because everybody will go out and buy these devices and these companies. I mean, Motorola has their Moto mods that they're pushing. TCL is going to be offering phones under $500 with 5G. Um, Apple might have 5G on all their devices either this year or next year. Samsung is getting to the point where they're offering 5G even on um, like the A series and things like that. So these companies all pushing this means that it will remove traffic from 4G when these devices are on 5G. So even if they're getting the same speeds, but they're getting lower latency, or they're going to go to the 5G network, and that because that's less restricted, but then the 4G network's going to become less restricted. For me, that's an advantage, and I don't see any point in anybody going out and buying a 5G device unless they're in like Chicago or someplace that has. But even then, um you're talking about sub 6 versus you're talking about millimeter wave and all this, the different 5G technologies, and some places it's one of these you're literally having to stand under the lamppost that the thing is on, and if it rains or there's leaves falling or it's too windy or you have to go around the corner, you lose signal and it goes back to 4G. So my concern is that these companies are going to push 5G. They're gonna, some of them are gonna hike up prices because they're gonna say, "Well, we didn't realize everybody's gonna burn through data so fast, so we need to increase prices to offer plans because, our current plans go up to 100 gig at the top end, and at the low end, you're talking about 20 gigs of data before you get throttled and things like that, and people are burning through that within, like, an hour, and so we're gonna have to up our prices on our plans." But then people are gonna be upset because they're not even getting 5G, but they're paying for it because other people are. So that's my concern. So hopefully they'll keep pricing down, and hopefully this will also be able to keep pricing down because I know that initially 5G will be more expensive to build, but because each spot, each tower, each hub can handle more devices and put out higher bandwidth, that that should keep costs down because if you can have one device that can, let's say, handle 10,000, or let's say handle 1,000,000 devices versus 1,000, that's 1/10 of 1% cheaper if the cost to build that's the same. Even if it's 10 times more expensive to build, that's still 1% cheaper because they don't have to build 100 in that area. They can cover an area with fewer of them potentially. Especially if you're talking about areas that have a lot of people. So you're not talking about having to cover a vast amount of area, but you're having to cost to cover a lot of people. And so you could put up one of these things because it can cover, 1,000 um, square miles and 1,000,000 people or whatever. So that's pretty exciting. Also, the idea in the medical field where um, you could have a heart rate monitor and your doctor can monitor that all from anywhere is pretty cool. Also for in-car use to have that communicate with your home. So, it can precisely track and see that you are more precise combined with that with GPS to see that you are, pulling down your road, and then it sends signals to devices in your house to, I don't know, you're a nurse and you're getting home and you still have stuff to do. So the coffee kicks on, the stove preheats, um, the dryer with your um, robe in it turns on for 10 minutes to heat up because you're 10 minutes away. So by the time you get home, it's all said and done. Uh, that's what's exciting to me with this new technology is being able to do true innovation where you take things that already exist, but extend them and make them more optimized and smoother to run. So, um, that's where I see 5G going. But, what's kinda cool to me is to see companies like, for example, with the plan that I have on T-Mobile, I could go out and get, like, a 5G phone, like, on T-Mobile, like the Note 10 Plus 5G or the S10 5G or the OnePlus 7T Pro McLaren edition, 5G edition or whatever, and use that on my plan, and it doesn't cost anymore, and I have unlimited. It will throttle after 50 gig if you're in a congested area, but like I said, not in a congested area really at all. And even when I went into areas that are higher population per square mile, it didn't seem to have issues. Kept right up with AT&T, and T, and in some cases was actually faster. That was another interesting thing is people kind of complaining about iPhones and data speeds. And funny enough, AT&T, same location, Note 10 Plus next to the iPhone 11 Pro Max, running speed tests from the same server at the same, in them at the same time and at different times, so that way to see if, I'm pulling that data down off from a tower, if they affect each other, and my iPhone was getting faster. It was getting, like, 60 to 70, and my Note 10 Plus was maybe getting 40 to 50. It got up close to 60 at one point, but you're talking 10, 15, 20 megs per second, anywhere from 20 to 35, 40% slower, and I just found that test kind of interesting. I will post some pictures probably on my Twitter about that, and I, hope that you all will check that out. Also, if you haven't been over to, um, my other channel, let me grab I'll put the link in the in the chat here. I don't think anybody's watching, but that's okay. I'll put my link. Um, if you haven't checked this out, this is my other channel where I'm starting to do my photography and kind of show off what I'm able to do with video and stuff. And then I'll be doing some time lapses and some compilations of images in there. So if you enjoy photography, or if you even just want to see, oh, how does this particular smartphone look in video and photos, I'll be posting that over there because um, even though some of that could be posted here, the how-to stuff would be more on this side, and the results would be over that way. Because I kind of want to keep things separate, and that way, if down the road I'm working with a company, I have a portfolio and I can say, "Go check out this channel. This is my photography," or "Go check out this channel. This is my tech stuff," and keep that separate. So, on that note, I also have a Twitter page on that. Also, in the description in here and in some of my recent videos starting, I think I've gotten about 6 videos back where I've added in things like, a link that you can click on if you shop on Amazon that, I just get a percentage if you use that link to buy stuff, and it doesn't cost you anything more. It's called an affiliate link. Um, and I know that people talk about them all the time, but um, I haven't noticed that a lot of people explain what that means. So basically, I became an affiliate, which means that anything that's purchased as a result of someone clicking on that link and purchasing through that link, it doesn't have to be that item, but if you click on that link and it recognizes that you were brought over there through me, I get a percentage. So it's anywhere from 2% to 5% to 10%, depending on what you buy. Some things it's a set dollar amount. Um, and for now, it's only in the US, but it's supposed to recognize, even if you click on the US one and you're in Canada or Japan or the UK or wherever you are, India, it's supposed to recognize that you came through from my page and do it. So, there's that, and then hopefully also, there is a PayPal in there, and I'm not begging for money or anything, but I am saying if you like what I'm doing and you wanna support the channel, you know, please donate through that, buy me a coffee, um, and I will make sure, give you a shout out. Also, I do have a Patreon, so if you go over to patreon.com and look for my name, you'll see it in there. And if you donate through there or through the PayPal link, um, I plan on putting out like a special video that only you'll see. So, hey, Miles. Hey, Savage. Oop. How's it going, Savage Scientist? was getting a little worried because I felt like things were a little slow tonight, but I know that there's other people streaming right now and people getting ready to stream. And if you're in a different time zone, 2, 3 hours behind, people are just getting ready, just getting home. So just chilling. Savage Scientist, if you ever want to join me, I'm up for it. You're going to stream at 8? Well, if you wanted to and you can get ready within the next little bit, I'll be on here. And if you want to hop on with me for a little bit, I only plan on being on here depending on um, situations and things, maybe till 8 o'clock. So I know that Painfully Honest will be on with their and Viper will be over there, and then he'll have his own thing later tonight. But I know that there's lots of streams going on right now. Um, I know that Gadget Chats has their thing going on right now. Um, and about that, I kind of picked Tuesdays because at the time nobody was streaming on Tuesdays, and created this Tuesday Tech Talk thing. So that was kind of the idea. And now I feel like everybody is on, so I just do what I do and talk and have fun and that people jump in and hope that people stop by and watch it now or watch it later. Okay, you're not at home right now. No problem, anytime. You know, if you ever want to join me on a Tuesday, it would be great. Either for this or I don't know if you saw my I need to adjust this. My creator interview series that I did last weekend. Um, or last week Tuesday. Uh Basically having other creators on. Adam Matlock was on, Tech Odyssey was on, and that went really well. And I'm hoping to get more people. So, would I be on a podcast sometime? Sure, I'd love to. I'm always loving to be on other people's streams and have people on here because I know that no matter the size of the channel, I mean, my channel is not big by any means, but no matter the size, we can help each other out. And that's the great thing about this community is, and I've been reaching out to different people, anywhere from, I know it's a far reach, but like Justine and her sister Jenna, and I reached out to Renee Ritchie and Joshua, um, Jose and Joshua and some of the different guys from CNET. And I want to reach out to Wang Bagnell. And I'd also love anybody who doesn't really do live stuff but wants to join me. You don't have to be in the tech world. Photography, artists, things like that. So, um, if anybody wants to join me, wants to be part of that, um, it's kind of a new thing I'm starting to do. Right now, it's going to be once a month, and I have February. I don't have a date or a week set in February for sure yet, but Preston's Thoughts is going to be joining me, and then in March, uh, oh my gosh, Joan is going to be joining me. Joan McCullough from Sharp Tech will be joining me for that one on March 17th. My birthday is the 10th that month, so I might forego the stream that week or do a special birthday one depending on what's going on. So yeah, I'd love to be on a podcast. Um, Hit me up on Twitter or Instagram, um, and we can figure it out from then. I'm pretty much available anytime. Um, just depends on the time of the day, because when my wife's at work and I watch our son, and um, so if it's during his nap time or if it's late enough in the day. Um, that'd be great. So, we'll make it work. What else? Oh, so where was it here? Let me look, see if I can find the um oh yes, so on a untech related story, there was a high schooler who on his third day working with NASA discovered a new planet. Basically, they have people who volunteer who sift through images and video clips from the from the satellites and from the telescopes and things like that to determine if there's any new stars or new planets or things like that. Kind of unusual activity that would be signs of those things. And then they get kind of trash things that aren't and pass on the ones that might be. And so, um, yeah, this 17-year-old high school student discovered a new planet on there, so that was pretty cool. And I guess that is kinda technology related because as the science and as the magnification and as the, frame rates at which these things can capture and the speeds of the objects that they can capture improves, that's huge in the technological world. What's exciting to me is the potential that, I mean, Apple Watches can do some impressive things, but the potential to live monitor heart rates for people is pretty cool to me, especially as graphene technology improves and a smartwatch could last 24 hours on a single charge easily with constant monitoring. And I could have that and then basically at night when I'm not having issues or whatever, just take it and put it on a charger and then, it charges up in like 30 minutes, take it off, put it back on, or even have a charger that just kind of slides on my wrist underneath, connects to it, takes 15, 20 minutes, charges up enough, or, it's on for an hour and charges up all day. Um, the advances in that is pretty cool. Um, Facial recognition has improved and will continue to improve, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that implemented into not just our phones, but and not just for unlocking, but even for uh, use with photography for facial mapping. Um, with the 3D sensing technology that they're able to do, even just using the differential and distance between the two cameras, and Samsung has 3D sensors on the back of their phone, to use that to more accurately capture people or even objects would be cool because they could see in the dark up to a certain distance. So if you're close enough within 5, 10 feet or whatever, and it can use similar technology that they use on the front. For front facing camera, it would be cool for selfies, but for the back, if it could do projection and project out like 10, 15, 20 feet away, to be able to have that technology used for object tracking for video and for um, portraiture in the dark would be awesome. Not only that, but for 3D scans, you could have something that you 3D scan more accurately than what they do now with that projection, where basically you snap a picture and it captures all sides around it from that one side, and then you just kind of go around the other side and take another picture, and it puts those 2 together more accurately than what Samsung or Apple or any company can do with their current lineups. And then be able to do a print of that would be pretty cool, including buildings, because these things could bounce out and basically create so you could do, go inside a house, take pictures, and the distance monitoring to be able to create a 3D map layout of a house or a building or whatever would be pretty cool. with restrictions due to privacy because otherwise somebody could be carrying their phone through a hospital or a government building or something, and that could cause some serious security concerns, um, especially, if somebody who's not supposed to be there, not supposed to be knowledgeable of certain things gets a hold of it. So, that's a huge concern of mine. Been on for about 40 minutes and let's see. Um, I have, if I can get a hold of it here, if I can find the article. I don't know where it went. Oh yeah, so Windows 7 recently basically died, and there's huge concern over that because there's been some numbers brought forward that says over 400 million people. Um, basically, it's like Microsoft saying you all need to buy new computers because we no longer are going to support so security and things like that. And if you can't upgrade to Windows 10, tough luck. So there's that. Um, also, um, if I seem a little off, a little distracted, I've been going through some kind of stressful anxiety situations. And I know this is a tech channel and you don't want to get all sappy or whatever, but just want to be real with you guys and say, I lost my job almost a year ago and it's been a struggle because I suffer with anxiety when it comes to I can basically only be out in public for so long before I start to panic, and it's been rough. And then my wife was working, and then she basically the lady just kind of ghosted her, and then she was working for somebody else and the same thing kind of happened. And then now she started this job and it's going really well. Like they're already talking to us about because our son and their one son are only about a month apart, about coming to family birthday parties and things like that. So it's awesome because we don't really have friends around here. When my wife and I met, we lived in Jackson, Michigan, and now we're like talking an hour and 20 minutes or so from there. And we don't, even though this is where I grew up, most of my, you know, people that I was friends with have moved on and moved away, moved out of state, moved, they have their own family or own thing. And so there's been that. And then our cars having issues, so money issues. And that's the great thing about doing this is I can just sit down and talk and I can be real with y'all. And, I can kind of talk to you guys about the stresses and because everybody thinks, oh, I can sit down with the camera and I can do this. And that's true. I don't want to say it's not true, but to do it and do it well, you've I've struggled today. Um, not gonna lie, I almost called this off because I wasn't feeling well. But consistency and honesty are important in my channel and important to me. And I just want you all to know what's going on and just kind of touch up on that. Um, Also, huge shout out to T-Mobile for their third line support that I'll be sending that SIM card off to my friend this week so he can have coverage because he was using Mint and he basically blew through his 12 gigs of data in like less than a week. And so having 50 gigs before he gets throttled, he was actually on T-Mobile before. Before he and his girlfriend broke up and he became homeless. So there's there's that huge shout out to them. If I'd if they'd sponsor me, that would be awesome. I know I'm kind of a small channel, but I really like what they do, and their customer support and their morals and things like that seem to be pretty on par, and, haven't had any problems with them. Coverage seems to be pretty similar to what I've experienced with Verizon and AT&T around here, actually faster with speeds, and as far as consistency in the house, you usually get 1 or 2 bars and at least minimal, the slowest I get is 5 megs down and, like, less than 1 up, but usually I get 10, 15 down and 3 or 4 up, which is more than enough for 1080p streaming, and I could even upload my videos at that. Sometimes that upload speed's faster than what we have here. Definitely not the download speed. The download speeds around here are about 60, 70 meg. Um, so there's that, and, I'm just looking forward to seeing how my channel grows this year, to having more people join me and take, um this journey with me, and I thank you for all your guys' support. I'm up to, I do believe, 185 subscribers, and I have something planned when I hit 200. So, if y'all, haven't subscribed and, you watch this or my other videos, please do that, and please feel free to, share this, tweet the stream at people, things like that. Um, and that would be great. Also, if you think that maybe another day of the week might be better, I'm up for that. Also, if you have any questions that you'd like me to answer, any thoughts on technology, things like that that you want me to discuss on one of my streams, or things that, questions that you have that maybe you asked to other channels and they haven't answered because, you know, nothing to talk down big channels, but sometimes, smaller channels like mine, I can answer questions. Um, and also, if any of you ever want to join me, reach out to me. I'm here, and I always love talking whatever it is. It doesn't even have to be tech necessarily. Um, just because I'm a tech channel doesn't mean that I won't talk about other stuff. We could talk about whatever. I don't really follow too many sports. Um, doesn't mean I don't know how they work, doesn't mean I don't know about football and basketball and stuff, I just don't really have any teams that I follow, but if you wanna talk about, painting, drawing, sculpting, photography, videography, music, dance, literature, poetry, tech, whatever it is, reach out to me also if there's any if there's any channels that that would work with me. And if you're a larger channel and you're willing to, you like what I do and you want somebody to, sit down and talk to you and ask those questions, um, I'd love to work with you. And I think I'm gonna call it a night, and I'll see y'all um, later. I might come back and do a stream Thursday, depending on how things are going, and see if it's a little less busy then. If not, I will see you all on the 28th next week. And thank you for watching. I know it was kind of a bit all over the place, but don't forget, the links are in the description for my other social media, my Twitters, my Facebook pages, my other channel, that PayPal support page where, if you want to help me out, if you just, feel the need to do that, you wanna help me buy a lav mic or, a better webcam, or you just wanna help the channel and support me, that's down below. Thank you, and God bless.